Let's be realistic, okay? This is basketball, okay? This happens in basketball all the time. Angel Reese got a clothesline the other day. I mean, this is, you know, these are not like, here's the ball. This is get out the way or I'm gonna move you. That's what the game is. So a lot of people, however, are reading this as confrontation. But this is not, they're not playing on the court. They're there to win. Oh. You know, and just because they're women, get over yourselves. Yeah. They're athletes.
They're athletes.
And some people will attribute some of that attention to the fact that in addition to being a very exciting and record-setting player, she is white in a league that is not as disproportionate, that's the wrong word, not as, what's the word I'm looking for?
Predominantly black, the
right,
NBA.
But not as much as the NBA, yeah. But I think it's closer to 50-50 from my observation. But it's still, there's a large African-American presence, and there may be some resentment from some people. But that doesn't mean that that's the entire story here. A lot of this stuff, to the point you're getting at, a lot of this stuff is what happens in sports. A highly touted rookie, white, black, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, they're going to be tested by the veterans. And sometimes that will cross a line. Yeah. What Kennedy Carter did was a dirty play.
It was a dirty play.
It was a flagrant foul.
And it was a flagrant foul,
right.
And no one disagrees. But this is where I take issue. With your large platform, Stephen A. Smith, do you really have to promote the jealousy? There's an element of that, sure. But there's also an element of people saying, welcome to the league, Rook. You get the same treatment I get. I don't care who you are. America has a hard time looking at a black woman go aggressively towards a white woman. They better get used to it because this is how these women play the game.
Why?
All right, guys, so we have to continue our coverage of the Caitlin Clark story, a story that has went mega, super viral because of the fact that it seems that the WNBA, they don't like success, right? They don't like ticket sales. They don't like attention. They don't like money. They don't like chartered flights. They don't like any of that stuff, okay? It seems as if they really want to go back to being irrelevant, not making any money, not getting endorsements, and flying commercial at the back of the plane with the rest of us normal folks, okay? It seems like that's what they really want to do, okay? Because they're trying their best to bully their literal MVP, Caitlin Clark, out of the league. And I have to make it clear that, yes, Caitlin Clark is the MVP in the actual definition of MVP because there's no other player in that league that is more valuable than her. And I know that the woke revolutionaries will get upset about that. This is why I keep saying it. But yeah, there has been some fascinating conversations in the media, including the political media, because this story has transcended sports, okay? Everybody's talking about it, whether that be the sports media or the political media, okay? Like, for example, CNN. We're going to cover this conversation on CNN here. But the reason why this is getting such widespread coverage is because there is a racial angle to this in which, you know, it seems as if these women are targeting Caitlin Clark partly because of her skin color, because of her sexuality, and because apparently she's pretty. Okay, this is according to Sunny Holston, who was on the board, right? She's on the board of the WNBA. So, I mean, I'm taking that as inside information, okay? You got Jamel Hills of the world that have come out and basically said the same thing. Aja Wilson, they have a problem with the fact that the black lesbian women of the WNBA were not getting as much attention and that they weren't the ones that made the WNBA a relevant league when it comes to some of these other leagues that we talk about a lot more than the WNBA, right? But Caitlin Clark has changed that. And again, they don't really like the fact that her identity doesn't match up with their identity. And she's changed the game. And again, you know, this story, in my opinion, I think is a story that if we lived in a reasonable, sane society, I think everybody would just agree that, yeah, that was a cheap shot. Yes, these women are jealous and that you shouldn't be cheap shotting the league's MVP. And the conversation would be over. It would be done. Okay. Unfortunately, that's not the case because you have individuals that are trying to go through these mental gymnastics in order to try to low key justify a cheap shot by trying to say, well, that's just basketball. Right? And you guys weren't complaining. You weren't complaining when Angel Reese got cheap shotted, right? And then you have to go through this whole conversation explaining why nobody cared about what happened to Angel Reese versus what happened to Caitlin Clark for various reasons, okay? One, Caitlin Clark being an actual superstar. Angel Reese is not a superstar, okay? And also on top of that, when Angel Reese got her hard foul, it was in the act of basketball, right? That was an actual basketball play, and it is a big difference between that and a cheap shot that is not a basketball play, right? Again, this is stuff that you have to go through to explain to really stupid people, okay, what the difference is, right? And partially why nobody cares about what happened to Angel Reese, but CNN here is going to take it to a whole nother level. And I think they're going to do this accidentally, but I love this segment for various reasons, because they're going to admit the quiet part out loud about why nobody cared about what happened to Angel Reese. And that is, according to Bob Costas, because they're black, right? Because this is black on black violence, nobody cares. And again, this is an interesting admission here from CNN, because this is something that I've talked about quite a bit in regards to how the media covers certain stories based off race, okay? Especially when you talk about violence, which is supposed to be bad in all situations. It seems as if some news stories get more coverage than others if there's a racial angle that the mainstream liberal media likes, okay? But in this instance, they don't like this racial angle. They don't like the unhinged lesbian black woman attacking the straight white girl on the court like that. They don't like that. So again, what these WNBA players are doing is that they're saying, well, shut up. Stop talking about this. We don't like the fact that you guys are talking about this and you weren't talking about us before, right? This is what they're saying. It's so funny to me, okay? Because they're mad that the media is covering a story that the media typically wouldn't cover. Again, if this was a black on white incident outside of the WNBA, which is usually what the media does, they don't cover that type of story, okay? But if it's a white on black incident, they're all over it, right? So without further ado, let's get into this segment.
Yeah, everybody benefits, but the resentment that I think most people are feeling, Bob, and if I could speak for some of the WNBA players, it's not so much they're mad at Caitlin Clark. They're mad at how the WNBA has now decided to pay attention to the league and give them more attention at this moment. And so some of that might be residual Caitlin, but it really is about, I've been here. Abby, you've been working all your life.
Well, look,
you've been here.
Can I play one more thing?
Yeah, so AKA jealousy, right? They're jealous, and it's just so funny to me because these people can't explain why the WNBA players aren't jealous without admitting that they're jealous, right? They are 100% jealous. And it's just so hilarious because, again, they're mad that the league wasn't getting attention. And they're also mad now at this incident getting attention and no other incidents getting attention, right? Now, so again, this is how it works, right? They're mad that they're finally getting attention, just not in the way that they want it. But at the same time, they'll try to tell you that, oh, no, it's not just Caitlin. Caitlin's not just the reason. All these other star players are the reason why the WNBA gets attention as well, too. And that's just simply not the case. It's just not the case.
Thing for you, Bob,
Sure.
for you to respond to. This is Angel Reese weighing in. She is the other big star right now in the WNBA. Listen.
People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role. The reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me, too, and I want y'all to realize that.
Well, she's talking about the championship game
Right,
a
that
year
they were
ago,
both a part of.
LSU
Yeah.
versus Iowa, and LSU prevailed. But to your earlier point, there was an incident recently. Alyssa Thomas, who happens to be African-American, grabbed Angel Reese by the throat and threw her to the floor. Flagrant 2, ejected from the game. The reason why that doesn't spark as much conversation isn't just that Caitlin Clark is a bigger star than Alyssa Thomas. It's because it's a black-on-black incident,
Wow.
and you
Well,
don't have
he
don't have that dynamic that people can comment on, yes, but also exaggerate and make the entire story sometimes.
And also,
Well, that is
That's a great point right there, Bob Costas. Again, I don't think he realized what he just said. He just admitted on the mainstream media, on CNN, that, yeah, nobody cares about black on black violence. Nobody gives a damn about what happened to Angel Reese because, generally speaking, the media does not care about black on black violence. He's right, right? He's 100% right. He's 100% right. And what's so funny to me is that you have Abby Phillip and Career Champion, okay, who, again, you know, in other circumstances probably would disagree with this, okay? Because, again, these are the same people that, again, they don't want you to cover black on black violence. In normal situations, no, we don't want to talk about it, right? This is why they never talk about what's going on in Chicago. They don't talk about what's going on in these inner liberal cities, right? Black lives matter except the ones that are taking about the black folks. But they'll come out here and they'll boohoo, whine, and cry when it comes to any type of racial narrative that fits their agenda, right? So some white cop kills a black person, even in a situation where it's justified. Oh, well, we're going to boohoo, whine, and cry about it, right? It's a big problem. It's a big issue. But you got black folks killing each other every day. The biggest threat to black lives are other black folks. But yet, crickets, silence, right? We don't want to say anything about it. But again, if you was to bring something like that up in the context of, again, crime or what's going on in these liberal cities or policing, they would disagree with that, right? They would disagree. They would not agree that, well, you guys don't cover this because of the mainstream liberal media, right? Let's say, for example, somebody was to bring up this point during the Buffalo mass shooting, okay? You remember the white guy that went and shot up the supermarket in Buffalo in the black neighborhood, okay? And mostly black people got killed. Again, the media covered that like crazy, okay? They covered that. They was all over that because of the racial angle, okay? It was white on black, right? Then they was all over it, okay? They want to boohoo, whine, cry racism, okay? Now, again, they don't like the black on white angle that's happening now, and some people saying, well, this is racially motivated. They hate that. They can't stand it, right? All of a sudden now, they don't like the race angle. But anyways, you have mass shootings that happen every single weekend in Chicago. In fact, this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, you had a mass shooting in Chicago that resulted in over 40 people being shot, okay, and about 8, 9, 10 people losing their lives. But yet, you didn't hear anything about it from CNN or the media. Well, why is that? It's like Bob Costas said. It's because it's black on black.
A 5-year-old child is among the 41 people shot in Chicago over the holiday weekend. Family says Rain Ware was visiting Chicago with her dad. She was shot and killed inside of a car on the west side early Sunday morning. Her dad was also shot. He's expected to be okay. No arrests have been made. 9 people were killed in Chicago since Friday. That includes a double homicide in Albany Park on Friday night. Activists are offering a $20,000 reward for tips that lead to an arrest.
Yeah, so again, you guys should get the point here, okay? The media is essentially admitting out loud that, yeah, nobody cares about black on black violence, right? This is what Bob Costas is saying. Abby Phillip, Career Champion, who are woke, who in normal situations would disagree with this, right? They would actually say it's racist to cover black people committing crimes against each other, right? This is what they normally say, right? You can't do that because it's racist. The focus on urban violence or liberal city violence is a racist thing. And in normal situations, this is what they say. But in this situation, oh, well, you're right, Bob, right? You're right. We don't care, okay? We don't care because they're black, right? This is what they're saying. I'm glad they're admitting this, okay? But furthermore, it's not just because they're black, okay? It's black on black. It's simply because nobody cares about Angel Reese like that. She's not a superstar, right? She's just not. It is what it is, okay? And the other person that was involved with the foul is not a superstar either. So that is the main reason. It doesn't really have that much to do with their skin color, because best believe if, again, she was a superstar, and it is possible for a black woman to be a superstar in the WNBA to the same level that Caitlin Clark is. It's just that none of them really have the same skill set that Caitlin Clark has, okay, in regards to what she brings to the table from a basketball perspective. And again, I think that's the main reason, is because she almost is like the female version of Steph Curry. We haven't seen that before. We've seen an Angel Reese before, okay? We've seen that. And without Caitlin Clark, she would be a nobody, not the other way around. But because Angel Reese is not a superstar, this is why nobody really cares. Now, again, here's the kicker. If people actually started to care about the violence in the WNBA among the black lesbian women in that league, and the media started to cover it in a way that was critical, it's like, hey, look, you guys are going too far, okay? You guys are beating each other up, right? Cheap shotting, doing all types of crazy stuff to each other. They'd accuse you of racism, right? Oh, it's racist for you to cover the violence in the WNBA. You're making black women look unhinged and, angry and violent. We don't like that. So it's really a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing, okay? They're going to complain. They're going to complain either way, okay? If you cover it, if you give them the attention, they're going to complain. If you don't give them the attention, they're still going to complain, right? Either way, they're going to complain. Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that they're acknowledging that nobody cares about black-on-black violence, right? I'm just glad they're acknowledging that.
Really, that is between
no
the
one
lines. What's
cared
going
about
on
the
here.
WNBA when women of a certain color were beating up and bruising each other, because it's been happening since the league's inception. We have this star, this person that people love. They want to protect her. So now the new fans and the new analysts and the new people have so much to say. Bob, thank you for saying that and acknowledging that, because you're a legend in this sport. And you are also gracious enough to say, look, I'm not an expert in the WNBA, but what I do know from the history and what I do know, this is why she is being treated this way, and why no one cares about
I've seen
Reese.
it in every sport.
I mean,
a newcomer is tested and to some extent resented.
Yeah, so that's how much of a pretzel Caitlin Clark has the mainstream liberal media in. They're at the point now where they're saying, well, we should start caring about black-on-black violence as a way to try to point out the hypocrisy of the coverage that Caitlin Clark is getting versus other WNBA players. They're like, oh, well, if you're going to care about violence against players, you should care about black-on-black violence too, okay? And I agree. We should care about black-on-black violence. I just personally think that we should care about it where it actually counts, okay? Like, for example, when people lose their lives in these inner liberal cities where you are losing black lives due to black-on-black violence. Because, again, in any other situation outside of WNBA, it's totally fine not to care about it. In fact, you're supposed to not care about it. And if you do care about it, apparently that makes you a racist. That makes you a white supremacist to bring up Chicago or Memphis or any of these other cities where black people are losing their lives like crazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, it's just so funny to me how they've twisted themselves in such a pretzel mentally that they're now advocating for people to start caring about black-on-black violence. Amazing. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.